everybody. Welcome to Hey Unpopular, a podcast about people, places, things, ideas that are not popular. I am your host, Adam Todd Brown. My co-host, Jeff May, is not here. He's off entertaining his mom this week. He'll be back next time. Don't worry, though. We do have some guests in the booth who will drop in later on. Logan Trent, Andy Sell, Danger Van Gorder, people like that. For now, though, let's not waste another damn second without revealing what we're talking about this week. It's unpopular opinion time, folks. Here goes. Despite mounting and vehement opposition to them in some circles, especially on the left, I think everyone should have a doorbell camera. All right, let's deal with knee-jerk reaction number one before we go any further. I did not say everyone should have a Ring doorbell camera. Ring can burn in whatever level of hell they are named after. This isn't going to end with me pleading with you to click sponsored links to my 5 favorite doorbell cameras. None of that. I don't care what kind of doorbell camera you have. I honestly don't care if you even have one or ever get one. But also that's at least half my point here, because this whole thing was inspired by something that happened back in February. You might recall that during the 2026 Super Bowl, the Bad Bunny Bowl, if you will, there was a Ring doorbell camera commercial that sent shockwaves through the community. It was about a new feature Ring introduced called Search Party that was said to be a tool for finding lost pets. A user uploads a photo of their missing pup. All of the Ring doorbell users in their neighborhood who've opted into the Search Party system like goddamn fools get that picture and feed it to their cameras, and now all of those cameras are scanning the neighborhood for signs of that dog. It's dystopian nightmare shit that could be turned on people in an instant, for sure. Don't get me wrong. The only saving grace of that feature is that you do have to opt into it, so Amazon isn't just firing up every Ring doorbell in the neighborhood and setting them to record mode every time someone reports a dog has gone missing. But that the feature even exists means that it's something they can do if enough people or the right people want them to. And yep, that's terrifying. If you have a Ring doorbell, don't opt into that shit. If you have any doorbell camera, don't opt into anything that gives the company or the cops access to your camera or your recordings. But also, that doesn't mean owning some sort of device that can tell you who is knocking at your door is automatically a bad idea. That is absolutely the vibe I get from a lot of people on my side of things, though, when it comes just to the act of having a doorbell camera. When I say this episode was inspired by that Ring Super Bowl ad controversy, what I really mean is that it was inspired by a post I saw on Blue Sky very shortly after that commercial first aired. The person or bot who posted it has since blocked me and the user whose repost was responsible for me seeing the post in the first place both. So I can't quote it verbatim now, and that's fine. I'm not trying to dox anybody or whatever the fuck, but the entire gist of the post was that if you own a doorbell camera, you are a coward and a scumbag and a collaborator who deserves to die. Again, I'm paraphrasing. That's not a quote, but I am not exaggerating when I say that was the actual tone of the post. It was very much, you own a doorbell camera, you are a fascist piece of shit. Straight up. And I have a lot of feelings about that reaction. For starters, it's insane to think that no one has a legitimate need to know who's knocking at the front door before they open it. We're all living in Trump's America. So I think we can all name a pretty obvious reason why a person would want that kind of peace of mind. Say it with me at home, everybody. What if they're selling drugs? Despite promises to the contrary, Trump has not turned the economy around. Jobs are as hard to find as they've ever been, and AI is coming along and making even more jobs even less available with each passing day. You know what AI isn't doing yet? Making meth. Having that hole to fill in the market when the struggle gets real enough is a bedrock of the American economy, and knowing who's knocking at the door is crucial to the success of an endeavor of that nature. And I understand that if you own a doorbell camera, you're a fascist, isn't a standard response most people have. That is the extreme, for sure. But it is true that in an age when we willingly invite countless privacy risks into our lives by way of modern technology every day, somehow it's the one that can tell you if you should or should not open the front door that's considered a line too far for a lot of people. And I find that kind of weird, because every knee-jerk objection you hear about doorbell cameras is either easy to shoot down or applies to every other device in your life, including the ones you use way more. Again, the first one you're going to hear is, well, Ring is owned by an evil corporation. Right, so get a different brand. If you can, get one that doesn't connect to Wi-Fi even. They make those. You got options. Next objection. Yeah, but police have backdoor access to those things, and hackers do too. Well, in theory, you have to grant police access to your doorbell camera. But if we're working on the premise that they're lying about that, and they can just access them willy-nilly, wouldn't that apply to literally every device that's connected to the internet and made by an evil corporation? You know, like your phone. As far as we know, law enforcement needs to go through the courts or otherwise be granted permission to access your phone data. But is anyone confident that's really the case? Even if the cops can't get in automatically, we all know there are any number of bad actors on the world stage with the capability to get into any device and do all sorts of untoward things with that access. But somehow the only device that gets hit with the, yeah, but why make it easier for them by owning one objection seems to be doorbell cameras. If we're worried that an entire fleet of cameras can be turned on nationwide at any point for any reason, provided the evil corporation overseeing the operation signs off on it, why no push to get cameras removed from cars? Because every modern car is filthy with them. We use cameras to back up. We use them to notify us when we fall asleep at the wheel and drift into oncoming traffic. We use them to prove in court that the person who says we rear-ended them actually stopped and backed up and is running a scheme, Your Honor. Again, if the fear with doorbell cameras is that the man can activate them all at once in pursuit of their nefarious surveillance schemes, wouldn't it stand to reason that they could do the same with backup cameras or dashboard cameras? But there are no similar claims that using technology to make parallel parking easier makes you an enabler of fascism. Now, as far as hackers go, I will concede that if you have internet-connected cameras inside your home, pointing at your bed and at your children's rooms and at your significant other while they work from home, you are a stone-cold maniac. If you need cameras inside your home like some kind of amateur blackmailer, at least make sure they're the kind that creeps can't talk to you through in the middle of the night. But even then, if you think simply not having cameras inside your home is enough to keep the bad guys from taking pictures of you inside your residence, oh, I have terrible news for you. According to a hot off-the-presses report from scientists at Karlsruher Institute for Technology in Germany, published in the perfectly trustworthy and legitimate Science Daily in May 2026, ordinary Wi-Fi can now identify people with near-perfect accuracy. I'll link to the article in the show notes so you can read it and fully absorb how it just gets worse and worse with every single word. The too long didn't read version is that, thanks to AI, of course, it's now possible to analyze how radio waves emitted from Wi-Fi devices bounce around objects in a room, which allows anyone who knows how to do it to see and recognize individuals with nearly 100% accuracy. Even better, it requires no additional hardware. Here's a quote. "This works similar to a normal camera. The difference being that in our case, radio waves instead of light waves are used for the recognition. Thus, it does not matter whether you carry a Wi-Fi device on you or not." End quote. Did you catch that last part? Just being in a room or area with Wi-Fi enabled devices is enough to literally give someone a set of eyes inside the room you're in. Now, are you going to give up your home internet access in response to this new threat? If not, maybe cool it on implying that a person belongs in The Hague for having a doorbell camera. You know? And those are just the privacy concerns we invite into our homes. It gets even worse when you leave the house, as you'll hear in this outtake from a very real podcast episode that me and my WNBA co-host Logan Trent recorded about the New York Knicks' recent NBA championship win. You remember that episode, right? Came out right after the Knicks won the championship? Sure you do. Now listen to this outtake that, as if by magic, is all of a sudden very relevant to what we're talking about today. Oh, and as promised, I am back with Logan Trent. How's it going?
Pretty good so far. It's just, I was thinking about how happy I am for Knicks fans because they finally deserve it. And most of all, how happy I am for their owner.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. If people are unfamiliar, Logan is talking about how after a drought that spanned more than 50 years, the New York Knickerbockers are NBA champions. Now, Logan, before we started filming, we were chatting on the DraftKings app, sports fans' one-stop destination for everything you need in life.
I buy my groceries on DraftKings now.
Smart. Very smart. And you made an interesting point about the Knicks and who should get the credit for this unexpected title run.
I think there's a big piece that nobody's talking about when it comes to the Knicks winning the championship. It wasn't chemistry. It wasn't luck. And it wasn't because the Knicks are a better team. And it wasn't because Webby missed shots intentionally to make Palshi money on the side. And I will and can prove that later on.
Yeah, but later. No one cares about that. Go on.
I have 3 words for you, Adam. Facial recognition technology.
There it is. There it is. Talk about it.
If any person gets credit for this title, it's Knicks owner James Dolan. He uses facial recognition software called eConnect to absolutely play lockdown defense on every single inch of Madison Square Garden.
I read a Wired article about all of this recently. It was like a report about how great Dolan is at surveillance and whatnot. Did you know there are players who suspected he bugged rooms they were in during their time with the Knicks?
Goat shit.
And what a pioneer. Apparently there's a culture of fear and paranoia around Dolan and Madison Square Garden that dates back to at least 2001. I wonder what happened in New York that year that inspired that change.
I think that was the year Britney Spears brought out the snake at the VMAs.
Shit, you're right. And yeah, you don't want people copycatting that at the Garden. That would be unprecedented chaos in the Big Apple. No, thank you. So yeah, that makes sense.
If you want to talk about court vision, one time a fan yelled, "You stink" at Carmelo, and Dolan's security was able to find him and eject him even though there were only 24 seconds left in the game.
Oh, at the buzzer.
And then the follow through. Not only did they eject a guy, they also used facial recognition to identify him, call his employer, and then get him fired from his job.
Here's the thing. Not to be this guy, but Genie Bus could never. I think this is why LeBron left.
He had security guards follow a fan on foot for blocks after a game in 2017 just for shouting, "Sell the team." That is the kind of shit that I'm talking about. Some players just run for a foul ball. Then some players jeet themselves into the crowd like Derek Jeter going for a foul ball. James Dolan is the Derek Jeter of spying on sports fans.
That was actually the same year Dolan had security eject Knicks legend Charles Oakley from a game, had him arrested, and then, speaking of follow-through, called him an alcoholic in the media when people asked why he did it.
Authoritarian leadership wins championships. If everyone in the organization doesn't understand that you will crack down on literally anybody, people start losing respect for you. And then the next thing you know, you're the fucking Wizards.
And we would be remiss if we didn't also give some credit to John Eversole, obviously the Pippen to Dolan's Jordan, head of security. He's ex-military, of course. He's alleged to have carried a gun in a shoulder holster around the office at Madison Square Garden until enough do-gooder peaceniks complained about it to make him stop. Just a really cool customer. Ice water in his veins.
Every team and every franchise needs that type of calming presence. It's the kind of attention to detail that turns a good team into a great team.
Yep.
One time, Dolan banned any lawyers involved in a case against him from attending events at Madison Square Garden. And to make that ban happen, Eversole visited more than 90 different websites and downloaded more than 1,400 pictures of lawyers' faces just so he could feed them into facial recognition software.
Wow. First at the facility in the morning, last to leave at night. You love to see that kind of dedication.
And the tenacity. Remember the Nina Richards game?
Of course, Nina Richards. She's mentioned in that same Wired article I talked about earlier. For people who are unfamiliar, trans woman who started attending Knicks games in 2021. Eversole had some pretty legitimate concerns about her, if I recall correctly.
He was worried that if she was able to get close enough to players to take photos with them, it would be a bad look for a classy organization as the Knicks.
Right. Like I said, completely legitimate. Because first, you have a trans woman on the court, and then what's next? Kids, animals, motorcycles, an adorable Asian woman on a unicycle balancing plates on her head, Flo Rida. Where does it end?
New York is not the place for theatrics and showmanship. It's a conservative town.
And yeah, the Richards game. There were a bunch, but the Richards game, textbook definition of lockdown defense. I still sometimes go back and read the security log from that night when I find myself in need of inspiration. I'll take people through a couple of the highlights. You all remember these, though. 7:10 p.m., camera 241. Scans her ticket to section 102, row 8, seat 5. 7:11 p.m., cam 1434 goes up terrace escalators on level 3 to level 6 concourse. 8:08 p.m., cam 1093 talking with F&B worker at the DraftKings bar. 8:31, eating at a table. It goes on and on and on. They even have pictures of her going in and out of the bathroom. She was in there for 2 minutes and 5 seconds. What are you up to, Richards?
We should talk about the handles.
Yeah.
Dolan says all of the facial recognition is about fighting terrorism. Like,
sure.
If a terrorist's face is in a database, they'll be caught if they try to see Adele at the Garden or whatever. But law enforcement doesn't actually share any list of that sort with Madison Square Garden. And it's not like you're going to send MSG security after a legitimate terrorist anyway. Okay. So he's really just using terrorism as an excuse to install a massive surveillance system that he uses to spy on regular people just for trying to enjoy their lives.
Where does someone even learn gamesmanship like that? Inspiring.
It's white Jason Williams level of sleight of hand that you just don't see in basketball enough nowadays.
And what an innovator. The eConnect software Dolan uses at Madison Square Garden is now in use at LA's SoFi Stadium. And good news, people who visited for the World Cup, it was in use in time for your visit.
I read a great stat about that where they said that every face was automatically enrolled, allowing for historical search, alert triggers, and association tracking.
I hope the world takes some time to thank us for that at some point. There's a quote in that Wired article I keep mentioning that I think really sums up what's so inspiring about James Dolan, especially to aspiring young billionaires like Logan and me. Here goes the quote. He's showing that with enough money and motivation, any mogul can create his own deep state and build a sprawling surveillance enterprise with him in the middle. End quote.
Trust the lack of due process.
Oh, and we're back. So you might remember I made a little joke earlier when I was saying that it's crazy to think no one in Trump's America would have a need for a doorbell camera, because what if you're selling drugs? Now, did you think I was going to say something else in that moment? Well, we call that misdirection in the industry. Of course, there is a way more obvious reason why at least some people could be forgiven for wanting some sort of heads up about who's at their front door while living under this dystopian nightmare of a regime. That is people who are worried about ICE, obviously. Now, I'm no conspiracy theorist, so I won't push conspiracy theories on you right now. That is for Thursdays on this network. Instead, I'll use a word the internet seems way more comfortable with and tell you that the fact that people on the left are encouraging people to not have cameras at their front door in an age when the government is openly threatening to send their goon squad to front doors to round up leftists as soon as they're done with all the immigrants feels like a psyop to me. And speaking of ICE and doorbell cameras both, promising to activate a neighborhood full of cameras to track down a single lost dog wasn't the scariest thing Ring was getting up to in February 2026. The bright side of the fallout from their Super Bowl ad was that it at least temporarily put a halt to Ring's planned partnership with Flock Safety, the nation's premier maker and installer of ALPRs, automated license plate readers. In most cities right now, if you drive regularly, your movements are documented regularly. Your picture is taken regularly, and it all goes in a database that ICE accesses regularly. And to talk about ICE and Flock and the alarming rate at which law enforcement is tapping automated license plate readers to carry out immigration enforcement, specifically at schools, on ICE's behalf, let's talk to esteemed Burbank political candidate Danger Mike Van Gorder. Oh, hey, everybody. As promised, I am back with Danger Van Gorder. How's it going?
Good. If you're in Burbank, my name is Mike.
Oh.
Yeah. If you're in Burbank and can vote for me. So please do.
Yeah, I like how full circle our relationship has come. At first, I refused to call you Danger. Now I must call you Mike.
You can call me whatever you want. Call me whatever you like, because you got the in. But I mean, there are people out there who do not know me as Danger. Although if you're listening to this show, then there's really no reason for you to have known me first as Mike. But either way, yeah, serious politician.
You all get it. So, Danger, I've already talked about automated license plate readers a little bit on this episode already. We just mentioned them. Those are what tell people where you're going. Those track your movements throughout the entire city all day long.
Yeah. And a company like Flock puts zero effort into protecting that data from any institution that might want to take it. It's like, yeah, we've set up this network in your neighborhood. You're welcome, but also you're responsible for anything we lose. Good luck.
Yes. I would say if you have time to get on social media and tear people apart for having a doorbell camera, maybe hit up your local school and see if they are engaged in using Flock cameras on their premises, because I bet they are. And the scale to which those are being used by police and by ICE specifically for immigration related stuff now, while that's ICE's focus, while it's being used for immigration now, the degree to which it's being used for that, I don't think people are probably even ready to hear. I'll link to this Guardian article that I wanted specifically to talk to Danger about, because Danger deals with ICE a lot, and you got kids.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Flock company is so bad and dishonest. First of all, they're sneaking into cities all across the country. And when I say sneak, I really mean that. They use a budget loophole to get themselves established as during a trial period. It's like, hey, look, we know red light cameras are really easily challenged in court. Who wants red light cameras anymore? Let's take those down, because the cities, you're just losing money on those. And we'll give you a trial period with a half a dozen of our Flock cameras, right? You don't have to pay anything. It's a trial. It's going to go through, you're going to use Build Back Better funds that were specifically marked for public safety. So when we're ready to extend to a full contract, you don't have to do anything, city. You just sort of say, okay, fine, keep on going. And then they're established. They use these budgeting loopholes to completely avoid oversight. And then they're set up, and then they're there for a contracted period of time. And they're so bad with privacy issues. And naturally, they're a surveillance state company, so privacy is not really their thing. But they're so bad that you guys, the LAPD is trying to cancel this contract.
Yeah.
Say what you will about the Los Angeles Police Department, and I have, and I will again. They're not great. But if they're saying this institution's problematic, this service is problematic, we're not getting our money's worth, and we're really concerned, that's the biggest red flag that I've really ever seen outside of Flock's presence at untold numbers of ICE kidnappings. And the Flock company saying, yeah, sorry, we have nothing to do with that. That's really odd and coincidental that they happen to be above where there are people being grabbed when they're being grabbed. And we just kind of knew that they were there. But what are you going to do? It's not our responsibility. It's just this data that we create, and we help you sometimes, but there's no firewall between this company's data, your private data, listener, and whatever rogue federal agency that wants to use that data for their own personal terror cartel,
Yeah. And I think people might hear automated license plate reader and get the wrong idea. Maybe you think, oh, well, it's just taking a picture of every license plate that goes past? Kinda.
Starts there.
It's taking pictures of who's in the car. It's logging that to see, oh, do they pass this camera regularly? Well, that's part of their daily commute.
What time are they going? What direction are they heading? That links up with it's a network of these cameras. So they're building your daily commute in their database. So They know where you're doing. They know when you're doing it. They know, I'm sure that a talented investigator could put together why you're doing what you're doing. But the point is, Flock knows what you're doing and when.
If you're driving, you're being monitored. Absolutely. And what is so alarming about this Guardian report that we're going to talk about, it's specifically about Flock and ICE accessing Flock cameras at schools. And the degree to which they're doing it is insane. Over a 1-month period, December 2025 through January 2026, there were 733,000 searches at one school district in Texas alone.
Cool.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing you really need to be worried about when it comes to surveillance. And when you hear about Flock coming to your neighborhood, treat it like a fucking data center coming to your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Treat it like any other thing you don't want in your backyard, because you don't want this shit at all.
No, I mean, you can make an argument for red light cameras. You can make an argument for security cameras. I'm doing a lot of door knocking these days, so I'm a little annoyed by Ring cameras because sometimes people can answer from afar and they're like, oh, wait.
Yeah, but that's like the telemarketer argument against caller ID.
Sure. Yes, that's fine. I understand. I'm trying to participate in civics. Not everybody wants to. It's cool. We live in a rich tapestry of a society. But I mean, specifically Flock. There's a national campaign called DFlock that has propped up in the past 6 months. Basically, right around the time of this article started to get going is when people started to realize, oh, these aren't just cameras. They're not just being used to catch people that blow red lights or to identify, problematic potential suspects in grand larceny crimes or whatever. Because, that's how they're sold. It's minutes matter when there's a really serious crime and you got to find the perpetrator. It's okay, great. But those kind of situations are exceptionally rare. The situations that are far more common is, like you just said, over 700,000 searches at a school. And also, I would say, even in my own neighborhood, like a specific camera above the U-Haul, there have been 3 abductions from that one U-Haul. I'm unaware of any, let's call them real kidnappers or non-federal rescinded. The federal kidnappers are very much real kidnappers. Let's call them amateur kidnappers. I don't know how many amateur kidnappings have been addressed or solved or expedited using a Flock camera. But that is a degree of harm to our society. It's not worth the trade-off.
I think trade-off is a good thing to bring up because I do wonder how much of Flock cameras being at schools specifically was sold as you want to prevent school shootings, don't you? Here's how you do it.
God.
Is this a thing you have heard anything about in LA in particular?
LA, I haven't heard this. That's not to say that it hasn't happened. It's because I'm really dialed in on these on the Flock cameras that I see. I'm aware of those and I don't like them. because I'm also aware of like, FBI agents showing up to people's doors and saying like, hey, we need to talk about this social media post that you made. Truly the era of freedom. And, wouldn't you know what, the FBI knows when you're home to come and ask you about that social media post. It doesn't surprise me that Texas, of all places, it would propagate at schools because, it's not really about learning at schools in Texas. But social control, right?
One of the things I think that is maybe kind of low-key concerning about this is, well, imagine if they get this big flock surveillance system in place and we just absorb it into our lives and accept that, all right, Big Brother is actually watching. Big Brother's name is Flock, but at least that means we're safe. The government can see any and all crime. They can stop it. We are finally secure. Maybe. But what it also means is the government can control what footage leaks from those systems.
Yeah.
If the government is the one in charge of it, then if a crime happens that they don't want people to see, we just won't see it.
Sure. And let's both put this also in the context of major crimes, violent crimes are down a lot since the 90s. Fox News, the media would have you be like terrified all the time because, that's their entire business model is scare and provoke people. Specifically, all you right-wing media conglomerates, you're all evil. But the trends are going down and it's getting harder to find these marquee crimes to get engaged with. And, we've got the big solve here. So they kind of work harder with all this new additional tech. And, obviously our particular administration is very much enamored with big tech because there's a lot of money to be made in those places, a lot of new systems getting rolled out with no bid contracts. And again, like going to local jurisdictions, sneaking in using funding loopholes and then saying, sorry, you're stuck with us for a year, because that's what we're dealing with in Burbank right now. We're stuck with them for a year unless, the new incoming city council votes to break the contract and pay whatever penalty from breaking the contract, because some among us feel like it's worth it to break a contract with a dishonest company than it is to continue putting our constituents in real jeopardy. Because it's not just a privacy issue. It's being acted upon. It's that double blind, can't prove a negative thing, but there are too many coincidental instances of this particular person being abducted under these flock cameras at this time.
I feel like there will be some segment of the population.
Is that short for population?
It sure is. Saves me a lot of time.
It must save you a lot of time.
Yeah. And I feel like there is some segment out there that will be like, well, I'm not an immigrant. ICE isn't coming for me. Not yet. Not yet. You got to think in big picture with this administration. It starts with immigrants. It doesn't end there. Once this apparatus of surveillance combined with state-sponsored kidnapping is really firing on all cylinders, it's not going to stop with deportations. There will be more deportations. It'll just be like, be in danger, getting deported, shit like that.
Pillars of the community.
Yeah. So worry about it now. Worry about it now while you can.
Yeah. They're already taking people who are going to their routine court appearances. They're taking people at security stands at airports because, like here I am, here's my travel information. I've, been pre-screened by the TSA, and there's far fewer cameras that can get footage of this literal crime. People being abducted, breaking the 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendments every single day. I'm going around Burbank at present, doing my campaigning, and I'm talking to people of all stripes. And I'm hearing from obviously Democrats, but independents and some Republicans who are like, this is absurd. This is absolutely not making us any more safe. Like people's aunties are not criminal elements. This is not $70 billion for 3 years of a masked terror campaign being waged on our streets. And if you film it, they'll shoot you. We've heard these people for decades talk about liberty and don't tread on me and justice and freedom and opportunity, the rugged individualism. And is any of that happening right now? It's like that grand irony of, no, now you have to really lick that government boot if you want to consider yourself a conservative.
That's why Jesse Ventura remains one of the last real ones out there.
I'm meeting the real ones. The real ones are like, this is, well, some of them are say, this is not what I vote for. And I have to be like, well, yes, neighbor, it is what you voted for. You were just hoping that the targeting would be a lot more narrow.
I don't think Jesse Ventura voted for Trump.
Oh, hell no.
But there is video out there from, it's either February or March of this year, where Jesse Ventura is like, we're a third world country now. We got a paramilitary force that answers to the president. That's what third world countries do. It's like, yep, correct.
It's a really good impression. Can we get Jesse and Mankind to do like a tag team situation against especially Trump, but also very much Stephen Miller? Just get them in a ring and see what happens.
I would be all for it. But put that on pay-per-view. Put that on the White House lawn.
I've seen Trump shitting himself a lot recently, though. There's a lot of footage of that guy filling his diaper.
Put that on pay-per-view. I'll watch that too.
As long as it's not smell-o-vision.
Oh. Now, as if it's not bad enough that ICE is able to access flock cameras to track your movements on the road, it seems like they have ready access to something else vehicle related when it comes to fueling their massive surveillance system. Here to talk about that, the state of Minnesota's Andy Sell. Oh, hey, and we're back as promised with Andy Sell. Andy, how's it going?
Pretty good. Great. So good. So good.
Sounds like it.
I'm awesome. I'm terrific.
It sounds like you're doing great. And I like that. I like to hear it.
Do you hear it a lot these days? Do a lot of people respond with, oh, I'm great right now?
Yes. And I can usually tell they're not.
Is there just a desperation to it?
I hear my own desperation reflected in their voice.
Yeah. They're saying it like it's a wish they're trying to bring back from the dead. Yeah.
Like we all are.
Yeah.
At this point in history. So speaking of at this point, this segue brought to you by Segway. Segway, when you need a segue. Segway. At this point in the podcast, we are talking about ICE and the scope of their surveillance capabilities. I think everyone knows by now that ICE over the past couple years under Trump has gotten the biggest budget increase of any law enforcement agency, I think, ever. Mm-hmm. They have a bigger budget than most militaries of the world, which is a terrifying thing.
Yeah.
Me and Andy are going to talk about ICE in Minneapolis specifically. An NP article.
Oh, hey. Wow.
On the fly.
Oh, baby loves a portmanteau.
Yeah, that was battle rap shit.
Yeah.
This is an article about ICE in Minneapolis, and specifically the idea that ICE is somehow able to access DMV records on the fly. It seems like that's absolutely what they're doing.
No, it is. Yep.
There was even this statement that DHS put out where they were like, don't worry, none of the tools ICE is using scrape public information or social media or any of that. And it's like, yeah, it's because they're just going straight to state DMV records.
Yeah, they don't need to. They don't need to do any. Like, I got to that part of the article, that quote, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay. That doesn't mean anything.
When me and my wife watch tennis, I will, as a joke, often be like, I've also never lost in 3 straight sets at Wimbledon. I've never won anything at Wimbledon. I've never been to Wimbledon. I've never played at Wimbledon. But if they say that about someone playing, I will be like, you know what? Same. Never lost in straight sets at Wimbledon. That's kind of what DHS is doing here. They're being like, no, doesn't use publicly available information. Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm.
And this article, they interview a girl named Emily who did not want to give her last name for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Why?
Man up, Emily. Nut up. She was following an ICE vehicle when it stopped and someone got out, took a picture of her car. She was like, all right, I'm going to leave Good enough. She starts backing up to leave, and this ICE SUV speeds toward her. And a woman wearing a face mask, of course, leans out the window and says, Emily, we're going to take you home. And then looks at her phone and recites Emily's home address to her. That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, and that's one of like, I think hundreds or at least dozens of stories that I've seen of that happening.
Yeah, I was going to ask, you're in Minneapolis. You've been in those Minneapolis streets. Have you heard about things like this happening?
Yeah, all the time. It's regularly. They were doing shit, blocking on ramps and off ramps on highways to stop people from that were following them, pulling U-turns on legal observers, going up to them, rolling their windows down, saying their names to them, telling them their address, or following them home. Sometimes leading them home. They did that to a few. At least there was a few anecdotes I saw of observers who were following the ICE vehicles, and the ICE vehicles then would just drive to that person's house that was following them.
Yeah, they interview someone in this article that happened to. Mm-hmm. And she also talks about how there was another incident where an ICE agent addressed her by her wife's name.
Yeah, because that was the name on the registration.
Yeah, the car she was driving was registered to her wife. So they assumed that's
how they got it. Yeah.
And yeah, I've seen videos of ICE agents, like you said, stopping on like freeway exit ramps and just getting out. I saw one where they get out and just spray pepper spray into the vents of someone's
a car.
car. Mm-hmm. That is Gestapo shit.
Yeah, the stuff they were doing, especially like the morning after they murdered Renee Good, was like point blank tear gas canisters in people's faces and shit, like just right out in the street. Just and like the thing is that they think it's funny. Like they're psychopaths. They're psychopaths, and they recruit psychopaths. That's the whole fucking point. And it's a meme to them. It's the same. It's the people. It's Trump's base. You know, it's the people that memed him into the White House the first time. You know, it's the dicks out for Harambe crowd. Like they're Boogaloo boys. And the intimidation, like that's why they do it, is so they can intimidate people. And it's like there's so many different degrees of it. Like I had an agent flash a peace sign at me once while I was taking his picture. They do that. Like I've seen ICE agents like put up the heart hands when they're being recorded, and it's like, yeah, they get off on this. Fuck them.
And see, here's one of the things about ICE and surveillance that I think is important to mention on this podcast is I feel like deep down secretly, even people aren't going to want to admit it. They aren't going to want to say it. But I guarantee there is a segment of the population that is otherwise perfectly well-meaning, probably votes the right way, does all the things, but somewhere deep down, they're like, ICE isn't coming for me, though. So,
yeah, I mean, it's literally the thing is it's literally the poem. And the thing about that poem is it was written by a conservative who saw what happened because of his conservative silence.
And with ICE, it's immigrants now. It will be radical left terrorists next, which is anyone who observes.
Don't forget trans people. Trans people is already they're on trans people now, and then disabled people are next as well. Just like the Nazis.
Yeah, what they are doing is putting an apparatus in place, a roundup apparatus, and they are refining it and perfecting it on immigrants. And if it carries on, if that ball keeps rolling, it will be everyone who's not a Christian nationalist.
100%. It'll be everyone who's not a straight, cis, het, white Christian nationalist. That is the picture of the ideal citizen, and that's what they're going for.
And the Christian nationalist part is important. And the demo that's learning that the hardest right now is Mormons. We talked about an article on the local news pod a while back about this city council somewhere in Idaho, where most of the town is either Christian nationalists or Mormons. And the Christian nationalists kind of have control of the city government there. And in this interview, they were like, well, you're a Christian nationalist. Do Mormons fit into your worldview? And he was like, oh, these guys are great, but no, they're not traditional Christians. Like, imagine being a Mormon and being like, fuck, I'm not religious enough for these people. Now think about you, whoever you are. You're fucking sharing your Trump memes on the internet thinking that's going to keep you safe from the fucking Christian nationalists. No, it's not. Being a fucking Christian nationalist might. And even then, you better not have any crazy shit in your past. Like, watch the fucking Handmaid's Tale. That is what they want. That is the version of America they want.
That plus slavery.
Of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, this surveillance apparatus they're putting in place will come for you, even if it's just coming for immigrants now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's a lot of well-meaning people hoping that the other people are successful in the work they're doing so that they don't have to sacrifice anything, which, I mean, I'm roasting myself a little there. And then it's a lot of people pretty too comfortable and too self-assured about their place in the picture that they want to paint. And I felt, I don't want to get into it. I felt like for a long time that the only hope is outside intervention.
One thing, even from the article that we linked to on NPR, one thing that I think is still, for the most part, holding up.
The courts?
That is actually what I was going to say, is courts are, for the most part, holding up. Granted, in El Salvador, which I've talked about a bunch on the local news pod, there's an article from shortly after Bukele tried his version of January 6th, which actually happened a year before January 6th in this country, and came out the other end not really punished for it in any way. And there's this article from Human Rights Watch that was like, well, what this really shows is that the guardrails that uphold democracy in El Salvador held, because none of the things he tried to enact during that revolt were actually enacted. And then maybe 18 months later, he had replaced everyone on the Supreme Court and is now forever president. So I take a little comfort in the fact that courts are holding up, but cautiously. And in this article, they talk about a guy who was running an Instagram account that identified ICE agents and identified their location. And people like that are getting notices from Meta that the government has subpoenaed their social media records.
Yeah.
And in each case, they've gone to court to fight it and won. There has yet to be a court that has let the government actually take those records. So a lot of what we're seeing right now is just intimidation. It's just a matter of, does it stay that way, or is the wrong court at some point going to be like, nope, round them up?
Yeah, I mean, there's already been a handful of dangerous precedents set, like Prairie Land, but that was, I mean, it's Texas. It's almost a special fucking case, But yeah, for the most part, like, you just got to kind of hope that to some degree they've overplayed their hand with this and with the, the 15 and the Minneapolis 15 and the Righteous 39, because all of those are, well, the 15 are still, we still got to see what's happening there, but
Broadview 6, they all got.
There's a lot of courts are doing the right thing. Yeah, we just gotta hope that continues to hold, and do everything else we're doing.
yeah. So in terms of ICE accessing DMV records, what's really scary about it is they apparently use this nonprofit called NLITS that facilitates data sharing among law enforcement agencies. So a bunch of states have been like, hey, let's cut off ICE's access to that. A lot of states, not a lot, but a few states have taken that step. And the problem is there's also just like public data brokers they can go to, like Thomson Reuters, LexisNexis. They can just buy the same information.
Yeah, and what the article said, they have a $5 million contract for their subscription with Thomson Reuters.
And there are some horrifying stats from this article. As of 2022, ICE can locate 3 out of 4 Americans through their utility records. Also, as of 2022, ICE had scanned 1 in 3 Americans' driver's license photos. Cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. And like, why? Are there that many undocumented immigrants in this country? I don't think so. I don't think I don't think you need to do that to cover that. Also, I mean, they shouldn't be doing that at all anyway.
Yes, they shouldn't be doing it at all, but that does raise some very serious questions about what's next for ICE.
Yeah.
Because deportations, there's a finite life cycle there. Like once you deport everybody and they're gone, then what do you do with all those detention facilities? You can't just turn them into like resource centers for poor people.
They're going to turn them into museums.
Oh, sure.
With like little displays, little dioramas in each cell with like sound effects and stuff, or hotels.
Pro-Holocaust museums.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Good times. So anyway, yeah, like I promised, this podcast, very fun.
Very fun. Good times.
Getting back to the good timing days of
Sorry. I'm encouraged by the fact that cases are being, charges are being dismissed, and that these cases aren't finding the meat they need to, and that people are suing. Like, that's another thing that's happening is a lot of people are suing. We got to keep that up.
I do feel like to some degree, yes, they're working from a playbook. They're definitely running a scripted operation, but I don't think it's coming so much from we know this is going to work. I think it's more of let's run it up the flagpole and see what happens.
Yeah, they're not very tactical thinkers.
One of the things I am just deep down in my bones suspicious of that gives me a little bit of hope. I actually think these motherfuckers believe that whole fake news media is lying about how much people love us, how much people want deportations. I think they actually believe that. And I think Trump's America 250 shit and him bombing on the National Mall.
Yeah.
God, I shouldn't use those words in the same fucking sentence. It's a comedy term, NSA. Him failing to fill the National Mall with adoring fans. I think that's what they were expecting.
Adam, you don't have to explain comedy to the ICE agents and the NSA agents that are listening. They watch Nate Bargatze.
True.
They listen to Rogan. They're comedy savvy, baby. They listen to Kill Tony.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Sorry.
I do think that's what they were expecting, though. I think they were expecting, well, here's the point where literally 1 million Americans turn out and are like, no, we want this Nazi shit. And instead, not even the people who would have turned out for it 3 years ago turned out for it.
They're losing folks and they know it. And, it gives me, again, there's like some of this stuff, it's you read it and you're like, well, how? But I read a thing about it, this was months ago, but that ICE agents don't want to come back here. To Minneapolis, the folks that were here in January and left, they would rather quit than come back here. And again, it's that you're not getting your 50. They want that though. You're not getting your 50K bonus, man.
Yeah, that bonus.
Yeah,
it's got to be. I think you have to work there 4 years.
Yeah, and the burnout is gonna take care of that.
That bonus, does it kick in after the next election? If so, every person who took it is a dumbass. That is going to go on your books in prison.
Yeah, I mean, that was the guy famous for not paying the people that work for him.
Yes. Mobile Fortify is the name of the app that they use. It's apparently just a facial recognition app that pulls up. It seems like it pulls up DMV records about a person, among other shit.
Yeah, well, that's the scary thing, too, because DMV is like the Minnesota DMV is like, we don't cooperate with ICE. We don't provide information for them. And then they go, but they have that anyway, because here's all the ways they can get it.
Yeah.
Like, here's all of the other like third parties that have our data that they can just take it from without talking to us. So they don't need a subpoena. Like, it's a bypassing of the Fourth Amendment up and down the road, like at every intersection.
Yeah. The things they're able to access would normally require a warrant. And through just the marriage of data brokering and all of the privacy restrictions we've given away, they don't need a warrant anymore.
Yeah. Meanwhile, if you post an agent's public information that's already public, they will come after you.
Yeah.
and say that you're doxing them. That's, I think, ultimately, that's what it comes down to me. The quote that is in the article that I was trying to find is that they said that, we don't reveal information about our tactics for law enforcement. And that ultimately is like, that's the most telling thing to me, is that it's like everything about them is they want to operate in secret.
They're the president's secret police is what they are.
Yeah, and it's what the left has been saying they are since Obama.
Yeah. And they were that under Obama, too.
Yeah, they sure were. They just didn't do it so loudly.
Well, me and Zach Johnston talked about this recently. He's used to write for Up Rocks. Been on a bunch. I think under Obama, it just happened more at the border.
Mm-hmm.
There are articles about ICE and CBP shooting into
That's true.
Cars from like 2012, 2013. It's just all near the southern border.
And the whip, I remember the whip thing, the CBP agent on horseback whipping people. That was under Biden.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I guess you can't discount the fact, like, people keep bringing up the training as the issue for ICE, which is fucking stop. That is not the problem. The man who shot Renee Good was CBP, like, under Obama. Like, he is the trainer.
Yeah, he'd been in that role for a long time. It's not training.
Yeah.
I mean, it's training, but it's somewhere along the line they've been told fucking gloves off.
Yeah. It's training. The problem isn't lack of training by any stretch, because this guy is the trainer and he's been there for years. And it kind of reveals too, there was what was the Borders, the CBP's like tactical division that like is notorious for like extreme shit. Those are the guys they sent here first.
It's because you're so close to the southern border.
Yeah. So those guys were there under Obama. And that's the thing. People didn't care about the southern border.
Oh, maybe they were there for the Canadian border.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. That Port Windsor can get pretty fucking hot.
Yeah. So Andy, thanks again. Talking to me about ICE.
Yeah, I always love talking about ICE. It's my favorite way to start a day.
Of course, yeah. What a way to start our Saturday morning.
Yeah, I'm going to go to a Loons game today. I can't wait.
That'll be more fun than this.
Yeah. I'll get to be around a lot of other people who fucking hate ICE.
So, hey, to summarize, I'm not saying you must have a doorbell camera. I'm definitely not saying you should have a Ring doorbell camera. What I am saying is that the only people who should be mad if you do have a camera at your front door are cops or criminals. And ICE is both. If you feel like they might show up, you should absolutely have a camera pointed at your home when they do. You should have a camera in your car. You should have a camera on your person. You should want a camera rolling on your behalf everywhere ICE is at. If for no other reason than because they, for all intents and purposes, have cameras and more rolling on their behalf everywhere you are. Sure, a camera at your door isn't necessarily going to stop them, but at the same time, why make it easier for them? In a world where we take privacy risks in the name of technological convenience all the time, a device that's capable of telling you when the government is at the door seems like the one most worth rolling the dice on in 2026, if you ask me. But hey, you didn't ask me, and yet here you are listening anyway. Thanks for that. We have reached the end of this episode. Want to do me a favor? Go give this podcast good ratings and reviews wherever you listen to podcasts at. You could also follow the You Don't Even Like Podcast Network on Instagram at You Don't Pod to see clips from all our shows. Maybe you can feed the video files into an AI machine and make some podcasts of your own. Who knows? And goodbye, everybody. We love you.